Good evening, everyone. It is April the 4th, 2021. And let me start off by saying and giving credit and praise to all the YouTubers out there, whether your channel is good or bad, or you talk about topics that's important and relevant or irrelevant. I have to give credit and thanks to you all, because to be able to put out at least one video a week or two videos a week, it takes a lot. And I'm not no YouTube pro, or I'm just a novice, and it's kind of difficult to do. There's been a lot of things that's been happening in the last few months, since 2020, things that people are conscious and aware of, and I just don't have the time to talk about it all. I would never get anything done with the way I look at and analyze things and able to see things and kind of like forecast what the future of it will be. So I give credit to the people that's out there to be able to make YouTube videos on a regular basis, because I can't do it. I think with all the things that's happening, I have to write down stuff and be a little bit more organized and to speak on some of the topics that I want to. However, getting into this video, excuse me, I would like to address a situation that I'm quite sure a lot of people are aware of by now, with a particular hip hopper from back in the 90s, DMX. Uh, it's tragic what he's going through right now. It doesn't look good for him at this particular point in time. The latest reports is that he lost a lot of oxygen to his brain, and that is really, really not good. Um, Usually, I am really not into celebrity news. I think a lot of things that happens with celebrities is bullshit. A lot of it is distractions to keep you away from things that we should be looking at. And I really don't care for it at all. I just don't like celebrity news because a lot of it is about nothing but distraction. However, there's been times where every now and then a celebrity, particularly a black celebrity for me, will come out and say something politically or socially that really some attention should be given to. It's rare, but every now and then it happens, and it's been like that for a long time. But in this day and age that we live in today, so many people have sold out in the entertainment world that a lot of what they're saying is just BS and distractions from other real world things that we should be paying attention and focusing on. However, getting to this point with DMX, I hate to see him in that position. I think another person that might go down his route or down his road is Cat Williams. I see a lot of similarities in those two, as far as people in the industry just messing with them because they decide to speak out or say something that's truthful in their comedy or in their music, and the establishment doesn't like it, so they just torment these guys. And DMX went through a lot, in and out of jail, in and out of prison. Cat Williams, same way. But he's holding on, but for how long? These are the only two men I think I know in America who have been locked up and jailed with no charges, just because somebody wanted to fuck with them that bad. It's sad. Um, DMX went through a lot, a hell of a lot. And it brings me to the point of drug addiction and how it affects us as Black Americans. Um, for those of us who are not, which is almost impossible because there's so many people on drugs, to sit here, for anyone to sit up and say, it doesn't affect me, I don't know anybody close, or that's a lie. You're lying. I mean, somebody has a family member, a cousin, a friend, old schoolmate, whatever, somebody on the job. Somehow, some way, you will come across someone who is affected by drug addiction, and it will cross over into your life to some degree or lesser degree. But I think what we have to realize is, especially for us who don't have a problem with drugs or alcohol or anything, we need to kind of be careful about what we say, what we do, and how we treat those who are suffering from drug addiction or some type of alcoholism. We really need to be careful. I looked at a video, and I'm going to see if I can include the link from Boyce Watkins, who's put up something about DMX and about how he was tricked into being introduced to crack cocaine and other drugs. And the thing is that it's a sad ass video, because as DMX is talking to this, I guess, a radio personality, he was just like grappling with himself in tears, trying to explain and share his experience and story about how he first smoked a blunt at the age of 14, and it was laced with crack, and the guy that gave it to him was somebody he looked up to and admired, like a mentor, like a big brother. Now, personally, I know, and I have talked to, and most importantly, I have listened to a lot of people, a lot of women, some guys, some dudes, who had been in this situation and similar. And it's sad because it's always somebody that's close to you to a certain degree, or somebody that you have some trust in, that will turn you out on some drugs or do something bad to you. And that's scary. Scary and sad at the same time. I've heard so many stories, I don't even know where to start. I don't even know where to start. I don't know even which one to pick out just to share with you all about somebody being manipulated and tricked and almost turned out or totally turned out on drugs. But we need to be careful about what we say and how we treat people, because I know people who despised it, people who looked down on it, people who couldn't stand it, people who hated it. They hated people on drugs, and drugs like the coronavirus, okay? And they hated it like a disease. And some of those same people who had that strong hatred for that end up becoming addicts themselves, hooked on crack and heroin and drinking. And some people who are not with this problem will sit here and say, well, how can somebody hate it and then get caught hooked on it? It's just like that. That's how that shit is. It has no boundaries. If it's anything closer to the devil walking on the face of this earth, it's drugs, particularly crack cocaine. It don't care who the hell it latch on to. But for those of you who say, well, I don't have a problem, you better be careful about what you say and how you treat people, because you could end up an addict. I've dealt with someone close to me in my life that I was in a relationship with who was an addict. And it was hell. It was pure hell. And one thing that people need to realize is that in situations like that, all that addict's pain, suffering, and troubles become yours. Whether you know it or not, whether you accept it or not, or whether you in denial about it, everything that that person that's using the drug is going through emotionally and physically, you're going to go through it. Even though you're not doing it, you're going to go through the same shit. And that's not just drugs, that's drinking too. And who knows? I mean, they say everything could be an addiction, could be with food. Who knows? You got to be careful what you say and how you treat people. Sometimes you go out here in the public, you see people out here, you know, they strung out and they wigging out and tripping and doing all kinds of stuff. Sometimes they might do stuff to make you laugh. Sometimes they might say stuff to make you laugh. Then they might say stuff that really irks you, just make you say, get the hell on away from me. But when you, the person who's not the addict, has time to be on your own, to yourself, to think about whatever, but you happen to think about that particular situation, you got to realize these people is hurting inside. These people are ripped up inside. These people are smashed and grinded down to the dirt inside. And it's something they just can't walk away from. I also come into contact with people who've been clean for 12, 13, 14 years, and then all of a sudden that one little thing can happen. Excuse me. That one little thing, and then they end up going back. This shit is a motherfucker. Excuse my language. It's a mug. And they know it's dangerous. They know it's killing them slowly, but they'll keep going back to it. It's an addiction. And for those of us who are not addicted, let me try to put it to you like this. It's easy for you to say, put the shit down, leave it alone. Don't do it. Don't do it. Well, let's just say you eat meat. I don't care if it's red meat, pork, beef. Try to stop eating meat cold turkey and see what the hell you go through. If you smoke cigarettes and you've been smoking a pack a day for the last 5, 10, 12 years, tell yourself you're going to stop cold turkey and see what you go through. If you're young and you got a strong, healthy body and you like sex and you're getting it often, go cold turkey and see what you go through. You like watching Love and Hip Hop and Housewives and you tune in every night to see every single episode. Tell yourself you're going to stop cold turkey and see what you go through. You like to eat sweets and candies and cakes, fried food. Try to stop. See what you go through. That should give you some kind of understanding times 100 what an addict goes through dealing with drugs, particularly crack, heroin. Nowadays, these X pills and all kind of other pills, times 100. This story is so sad about DMX. I love his music. I mean, he still got stuff from back in the 90s that you can bump today. I mean, I respect him for that. I respect his music. I love some of the songs he came out with. I mean, I can still blast it like and just get pumped up. He had them songs with that energy, but he had a lot of songs that told the story about what he went through. And it's sad because I know a lot of people just like DMX. It was somebody close that they looked up to and mentored to and got them turned out. We got to be careful. And like he said in the interview, it was rolled up on a blunt, but it was laced. Weed is the drug, or what they call a gateway drug, that can take you to other harder drugs. And now it's almost legal in just about all the states now. And I always said years ago that by the time they start legalizing weed, they getting ready to pull the wool over our eyes in America, because they're going to have us so strung out because weed is legal. They're going to be up in Washington, D.C. pulling off all kinds of shit. And I believe that, and I think that's happening right now. In order for the public to stay blind and brainwashed and distracted, weed was the last option. So weed can take you to other harder drugs. It's almost legal in every state. So that means we may just have more messed up people out here addicted to other harder drugs. Some people had the discipline to just keep it at weed or at a certain amount of weed that they intake. Some people don't have that discipline. Some people start off with weed and they got to keep searching for that next thing. And before you know it, their life is destroyed. I know a girl, a beautiful young woman, stayed in Chicago, and she had these so-called friends. I don't know what happened between her and her friends, but apparently some animosity came about, some jealousy came about, and instead of them duking it out and it turned into some girls jumping on her or fighting, they did something different, and it was really slick. They kept feeding her weed. They would always get together, doing a little girl thing and hanging out and, having a drink, smoking weed. And this girl who I knew, they was turning her out, and she realized it, and she caught it before it got too bad. They would constantly get together, drink, and she noticed that instead of them actually putting the weed in the paper or in the blunt, or however they were smoking it, and actually rolling it up, she always noticed that it was already rolled up, and it was always one special one just for her. And before you know it, she didn't think nothing about it. She was doing this for weeks, maybe a couple of months. And she telling me this. And come to find out, she noticed, things was changing for her for the worse. Like, she had to have it. And come to find out, they were lacing the weed with crack. And they tried to turn her out to be a crackhead because of some petty ass shit that happened between them. And that's how they wanted to get back at her. But the girl realized something wasn't right. She realized she wasn't acting right. She realized that just like when a person's on crack and they need it, she was doing the same thing, but she thought it was for weed. And I'm just going to tell you, anybody should know, weed don't make you do that shit. People get up first thing in the morning. You see them, if they do it here in Chicago, they do it every goddamn where. People get up at 7, 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, going straight to the gas station, buying White Owls and Philly Blunts. And I'm like, weed don't make you do that shit. And I'm going to connect that to something that somebody told me years ago. Not all weed, but some weed is laced with cocaine before it even comes across the border. It's a money move. Crack is the only thing that makes you want more and more and more until your body shuts down. So if you put something like that on weed, it's going to make you spend money, spend money, spend money. The drug dealer gets his, the cartels get theirs. And then, I don't really want to say it, but fuck it. Some political parties get theirs from the cartel. You take that where you want to take it. But a lot of weed, not all of it, is laced. Why would somebody be getting up first thing in the morning to have a blunt? Weed is not addictive. Crack is. Cocaine is. So if they putting it on the weed and you realize you got to have your weed like that first thing in the morning, some shit ain't right. I knew a lady who said that she had stopped using cocaine and she smoked some weed, and the same feeling that she had in her stomach was the same feeling that she got when she used to do crack and cocaine. And she realized they was lacing the cocaine. So just like these things happen to these individuals that I talk to and listen to, it can happen to anybody. You could be one of those people that say, hey, you less than human, you a piece of trash, and get out my face, this, that, and other. You could be in that boat. DMX's story is sad. It's sad. And I know a lot of people who were tricked and is out here on these streets and just towed up. There's a million DMXs in every city, every town. Based on his story and the way he tell it, it's a million of them. But we got to come together as a community. And I'm going to say it like this. As far as black folks go, fuck all that come together as a community and unity shit. Start with yourself first, because somebody got to have sense. We've been trying to do the unity thing at one time. It seems like the farther you go back in the past, we had more unity then, and with each decade, each year, each day, it dissolves even more further. So forget all that shit. Start with yourself. Start with your household and your family if you can. Once we start on those tiny little micro levels, then we can start reaching out as a community. We got to be vigilant. We got to start caring. We got to start loving. We got to stop hating. Because these children need a future. And if you messed up on drugs, and if they get messed up, because I heard people as young as 12 years old getting hooked on shit. We got to look out for one another. And in some cases, like in my case, it might not even be a blood family member. It might just be somebody you just took a liking to and you care about them. a child, a kid, somebody who calls you uncle, but you're not really an uncle. You know how we do in the hood? That's my play auntie and I play cousin. But you still got feelings for them like they really your family. And we got to look out for them so that we and they don't make mistakes like DMX and all the other hundreds of thousands of DMXs that's out here in America. We got to tell people what's right. We got to tell people what's wrong. And sometimes an education, like one of my uncles told me, one of my play uncles, it's all right to know the books. It's all right to hit the books. It's all right to get your education in school, but you got to know these damn streets too. You got to know these streets. So you got to be able to take kids. One time I did it with my son. I was like, I know a guy, he was hooked on drugs. He had a nice life. Dude was a truck driver. And I kept in touch with him. I've been knowing him almost all my life. But this guy, he stayed in a real bad part of town. I would still connect with him because he did good work as far as like working on buildings. He knew how to paint. He can do carpentry work. He knew how to hang drywall and stuff like that. He was a good laborer type of person. And, you know, I would have him come over and do little repairs and stuff like that. Dude was awesome. But I had to take my son to him in his environment. And I'm like, look, if you don't get your shit together, this is how you're going to be living. And I told the dude, I said, I will be bringing my son to you to try to talk some sense in his head, to let him know before he get out of control. Because he was going through that teenage moment where, you know, they think they know everything. And I'm like, look, I'm going to take your ass to the hood and I'm going to show you how people live. I'm going to show you what their life is like. And I said, and if I have to, I'll leave your ass out here with him just to go through one day. And I bet you your ass will make it through half of it. But sometimes you may have to do that with your kids. My father did it with me. He would take us to certain people, certain family members, certain friends, and we would see how they would live. And they knew it was a learning experience for us. They wasn't ashamed about it. They was not ashamed about it. They knew what our father was doing. My father talked to them just like I talked to my buddy. And it's, look, I got to bring my kids over here so they can know what these streets is about and what can happen if they don't make the right decisions. See, everything you're not going to learn in a book. Sometimes you have to go to them people houses that's going through hard times. And you got to show your kids, you got to show your loved ones, do the right thing. You go to them people houses, they ain't got no heat. They ain't got no running water. And especially here in Chicago where the temperatures can get like they do in the wintertime, you live in a house with no heat. That ain't no damn joke at all. You know, you go to take a shit and you look in the toilet, the damn water in the toilet froze. You got to throw some paper and set it on fire for the damn water ice to melt. Come on now, that's hard times. And sometimes people need to see shit like that. You're not, I mean, you might can see it in a book, you might can see it in a documentary, but when you see it with your own eyes and you got to smell and breathe shit, that's an experience. So we need to look out for one another. We need to let people know before they get to these streets. And I think it's sad because I've seen mothers throw away their kids as early as 11, 12, 13 years old. They throw these boys away to the streets. And I think That is so sad. I have nothing good to say about the women who do it. We know the man ain't there. We know the man ain't there. They started running the brothers out the house back in the mid-'80s. Some people say earlier in the 70s when they did the welfare thing. But I see young kids at the gas station begging for food just to get $1 and some change and buy 3 goddamn chicken wings to eat for the whole day. I've seen kids who think that a hot meal is hot Cheetos and Funyuns and shit with the red shit on there. That's really dinner to some of these kids. Don't know what a home cooked meal is. Besides a hot dog and some ramen noodles. I might be kind of getting off topic, but I don't think so because I think everything is connected. That's one of my favorite sayings I like to say, everything is connected no matter what. But the thing is, you can see how poverty, bad parenting can lead to situations like DMX was in. See how we get back on track? We can see how it leads to addiction because some kids grow up in so much pain in this world alone with no guidance, no leadership, and they get hooked on these drugs to try to escape years of abuse, wrongdoing, loneliness, all kinds of shit, you name it. You can't save the world, but if you can reach out to just one person and make their life a little bit better and just give them that right guidance that they need at the right age. Because, like I said, we know the man ain't in the house. And I know situations right now where there's a young mother with a beautiful son, a beautiful young black boy, and he need that guidance. And he looks up to me for that. And right now, we some 400, 800 miles away from each other. But fuck it. I'm going to make it that I'm a part of his life. Because every now and then, I'll pick up the phone and call. Sometimes you don't know how much that can mean to a child. Especially if you're distant or they move to relocate to another state, anything like that. Just a call for somebody to say, hey, how you doing? What you doing in school? Are you learning? You know, get your education. That's something that everybody in our family, no matter who it was, uncle, auntie, cousin, anybody older, first thing you walk in, what you want to do when you grow up? Get your education. Stay in school. That's important. Some people ain't got nobody to tell them that. But once again, I'm not getting off track, but these are the things that lead to the situation that DMX is in. These hard childhoods where no parent is around, no father's around, no uncle, no auntie is around. You just being raised by the streets and the slick ass people that's out there that's going to use and abuse you. And then for a lot of us, like I said, who are not going through these type of things or addiction, just because you made it, that don't mean your kids gonna make it. Just because you made it and you successful, that don't mean that your kids gonna automatically follow. You got to constantly be like a check mechanism to say, hey, what the hell you doing? what you been up to, what's your plans, what's your future plans, what's your goals. If everybody that got good sense can just find somebody, it might not even have to be a family member. Just find somebody that you attach to and likewise they attach to you and be some kind of mentor. This shit is getting out of hand with these drugs. And I don't give a fuck about politics as far as left or right. But a lot of them motherfuckers is just as guilty for that shit coming into this country as the motherfucking, what they call them people, the mules that bring it over and the cartel people. These politicians ain't shit. When 9/11 happened, they shut everything down. You couldn't get a needle through the crack of a camel's ass coming through the border with anything. Everything was shut down on 9/11. Nothing got in and nothing got out. So you're going to tell me that this government don't have no control over its borders. And speaking of borders, who the motherfuckers that won't open borders where any goddamn body and any threat and any disease, any drug can come through that motherfucker unchecked? Think about that shit. But drugs is coming in, all kind of shit coming in. And we ain't responsible for it. And the politicians know what's happening. They sit up there and play dumb. But this goes back to DMX because once that shit gets over here, you know it's going to park itself right on the corner of your alley some mysterious way. So fuck these politicians, because they know what's going on. But they always do what they train to do, just talk stupid and talk in circles. DMX's story is sad. And there are hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people in America who went through what DMX went through. But for those of us who don't have these addictions and vices, somehow with a long handled spoon, you got to reach out. To a certain degree, because they not going to stop until they ready to stop. But you gotta get to these kids before they get to it. Now, to a person that's already on it, like I said, you can do all you can do. They not going to do nothing until they ready. But for these children that's coming up that don't know what a blunt is yet or never done anything yet, those are the ones you got to latch on to and grab and lead them the right way and be respectful and don't misuse and abuse them, especially somebody that's looking up to you. You don't do that. And I think for anybody that's tricked someone to be hooked on drugs, I really hope, ain't no fucking forgiveness for me. I can't do it. Ain't no goddamn forgive. I was taught something when I was a new Wabian where when you forgive, that takes the guilt from the person that committed the sin and it transgresses it towards you because you forgave them. Everybody had their own belief system. Now I can't remember verbatim how that went, but basically what it was saying in some of the books that I had was that when you forgive someone, their judgment and payback is delayed and it falls on you. Their karma will fall on you before they get their karma back for doing whatever it is they did to you when you apologize or you forgive. So people who've done things wrong to hurt people, get them caught up on drugs, get their life all messed up, rot in hell 7 times. Fuck that. Ain't no forgiving. Because you fucked up somebody else's life because your shit was fucked up. Ain't no forgiveness for that. I wouldn't, fuck that. Right now, the way I feel about forgiveness, if Jesus or God himself was standing in front of me and I had to face somebody that did something wrong to me, and they asked me, do I forgive him? I was like, hell no, nope, I don't. I had to take my chances. If I have to turn around and find myself in hell sweating next to that motherfucker, I'm not going to forgive you. And I don't forget shit easy. I get that from my mama. She says she ain't talking to your ass. It might be 10 years before she talk to you. That's how I am. Don't do drugs. It's not good. Alcohol is a drug. It's a lot of different drugs out here that's legal. But as far as all this crack shit, I don't care shit about weed no more. And that's been almost 20-something years ago when I was in my early 20s. Now I smell weed. Yeah, I used to smoke it, but now I smell that shit. Now it stink nasty. Like, I can't stand it. And they got this shit called loud. I mean, it don't even smell like regular weed. That shit stink. And I don't know how people can sit up and suck on that shit all day. I really don't. That shit stink. It stinks. I mean, it's irritating. I ain't even nowhere around it I can smell that shit right now as I'm thinking about it. But just because you don't have a problem, be careful about the things you say out your mouth and how you treat people. You can end up in a situation like the person you're talking about. And DMX is not dead yet, but it's not looking good for him. You would hope for some kind of last minute miracle to happen, but once you lose that oxygen to that brain, that's it. I've seen people have strokes like that where they was out for so long and that oxygen was deprived because nobody knew CPR or how to blow the breaths into the, keep you ventilated. It don't look good for him. But here's a man that had success in hip hop, in the rap industry. Still got songs to this day that are greats. And all he had to do, just for them songs he made back in the 90s, he was set and his kids was set for the rest of their life. Pretty much. But you can't even enjoy it and your children and your loved ones because of an addiction. We got to stop this shit in our community. Like I said, fuck all that unity shit as far as a whole, us as a whole. Start with yourself and your household. Start with yourself and an acquaintance or a friend. Everybody do that, then we can come together as a whole. Because our unity has diminished over the decades, over the centuries. The strongest point we probably ever been in and had unity was during slavery. From that point on down, after Jim Crow and all that shit, all our unity's just been disintegrating ever since. Drugs are bad. I didn't want to see nothing like that happen to DMX. And it's also kind of sad because if he wasn't going through this, I wouldn't even be thinking about his ass. But I remember his music. I remember him being on video games. I remember, just things about DMX, some of the other interviews he's done on radio shows, TV shows about his life, interviews he's done from prison behind bars. We should not be allowing more DMXs to come into our homes and in our communities in the sense of being hooked on drugs. And it's sad because it happens. It's a part of reality. It exists every day. And being African American or so-called black in this country, I can kind of almost see why people have to sell it because there's no other choice. Some people can argue that. Some people can make a big debate about, oh, you ain't got to be out here doing that kind of stuff, selling it to your own people. Well, what the fuck else is out here? When nobody would give you the opportunity, the chance, a will, or even the finances to get on your own feet and start a business, what else you gonna do? When you out here looking for jobs and you sitting on the internet all damn day before they cut your damn lights out and you can't get on no damn more, putting in an application out, and you don't hear shit from nobody, what you gonna do? Some people don't know what struggling is until they've been there themselves. As long as you got a pension coming in, as long as you got a check coming in, you can try to pretend for a temporary moment. But when you ain't got nothing and everything is denied, or you just don't hear shit at all, what you gonna do? But I'm not saying it's right. I'm not condoning it. People sell drugs. But like I said, if everything was fair, motherfuckers wouldn't have to do shit like that. Same thing with gun crime, gun violence. Don't tell me shit about guns because I'm a strong supporter of the Second Amendment. Fuck the liberals with that shit. If it wasn't for guns, a lot of our parents and grandparents and great-grandparents would have never escaped the goddamn South. They didn't jump up like most people do, like it was a luxury to say, oh, I think I want to move to this part of the country. It's nice there this time of year, and things are wonderful and looking up, and I think we want to relocate. No, some of our family had to leave the South because they had to flee. They had to escape lynch mobs, crooked-ass sheriffs and shit, motherfuckers who had it in for them trying to kill them and hang them and all that kind of shit. If it wasn't for a goddamn gun, a lot of us wouldn't be here because our parents and grandparents or great-grandparents will be dead. So don't tell me no shit about gun control. And the reason why gun crime exists in the first place is from a topic that nobody wants to talk about. It's uneven distribution of economic opportunities, which creates poverty. And with poverty comes crime. Don't tell me shit about gun laws and gun control when motherfucker deprives you of economic opportunity. If everyone had it, no one would be out here cutthroat and shooting each other. But back to the point. DMX, I hope that there's some kind of last chance that something can happen. I don't think it will, but, it's just that glimmer of hope that you have in the back of your mind that this brother gonna come through. If it does at this point, it will be truly a miracle. But I think down to the minutes, this man's days is numbered, and it's because of drugs. It's a terrible thing. It's a terrible thing. And in such a way, it ain't nobody you can know or come across who can't say they don't know somebody that's affected by it or close to. So take care of yourselves, take care of your loved ones, and most importantly, put your arms around these young youth, these kids in your family, the kids that look up to you. I don't care where it might be, a neighbor's kid. You might be saving somebody's life and you don't know it because you feed them a sandwich or something, any damn thing. You might be saving somebody's life. These kids don't even know what nutrition is. Just look out for one another. Let's try to eradicate this from our lives, from our households, and then from our community. Hate to see DMX go through it. It's going to be a whole lot of other people that go through it. But his life was tragic, in and out of institutions from the time he was 7 years old. He didn't have a chance. Hip-hop was the only way out. And drugs was smothering on top of that. So there's a lot of people going through things like that. Just try to talk. And sometimes what we need to do is shut the hell up and listen. That's another thing. That's a dying art form in this country, to be able to shut up and just listen. Because sometimes people need to get things off their chest, and if they don't do it, you don't know how it's going to come out. Learn how to listen to people. Even if you can't do shit to help them, sit back and listen to their story, because it's going to make them feel good to get it out. And it's messed up that you can't even talk to people because people can't shut up. Learn to listen. It's a dying art form, just like cooking. Yeah, I said cooking, like on the stove with skillet and shit. Cooking. It's a dying art form. Learn to listen to people. Sometimes you just listening means the world to that person that has a problem. But in the meantime, enjoy yourselves. For those of you that's into the holiday thing, happy Easter. Take care of yourselves. Love your family. And show love to anybody you possibly can that's willing to show that to you back sincerely and genuinely. Take care. Good night.